Hi everyone, welcome to the CPP CommunityCast, episode 5. The host for today will be myself, Miguel Urrutia, and I'll leave the two teams to introduce themselves. So,
hi, my name is Andrea Andy Handy, and I am a learning and development consultant with Cal Poly Pomona.
Hi, my name is Brian Taylor, and I'm a talent advisor in talent acquisition and diversity outreach.
And hello, everybody. My name is Jesus Avalos, and I too am a learning and development consultant here at Cal Poly. And we're all excited to virtually see you for this episode.
thank you, Jesus. And actually, Jesus, can you tell us about our question of the day today?
Yes. So, okay, and I should preface this by saying that all of you that are either listening along or watching along, I'd love for you to think about this question and share your answer with us in the comments when this is posted. But my question for you all real time is, if you could have any superhero power, what would it be and why? So audience, we'd love to hear your comments as the group is thinking. So who wants to take it away first?
This is a tough one, Jesus.
It is a tough one, right?
I wasn't ready for this.
I broke your brain.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It took me a while, and I'll tell you, obviously I have the advantage because I came up with the question, or I borrowed the question. But it took me a while to actually identify the one I felt good with. So, all right, we're going to go with it. Whatever comes to you first. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to say, Miguel, what's your answer? Superpower.
Superpower, I think it would be speed. Just because I could go from point A to point B and maybe save on gas.
Oh, nice. But then you'd be spending more money on tennis shoes because I'm sure you'd be.
That's true. Can we still change it?
and new tennis shoes are pretty expensive, but yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm. All right, super speed, very cool.
Yeah, mine was actually along the lines of Miguel's as well. Well, not necessarily speed, but in reference to like traveling from point A to point B and getting there quickly. Mm-hmm. I feel like I love going new places, love traveling, but it's always, you have to get on a plane or you have to get in the car and drive for hours. I wish I could teleport and be there. And I think the biggest thing is at the end of the day, when you're tired and you want to be home, just being home right away would be an amazing feeling. So probably teleporting. I think that would be it.
All right. Very cool. I'm a comic book nerd. I'm going to go ahead and just acknowledge that. All right, everybody. So I'm going to put that out there. But then I thought about teleportation and say, but what if you teleport somewhere and there's like a speeding bus coming right at you? So I always worry.
Oh, that's true.
I worry about these kind of things. These are the kind of things that keep me up at night. So full disclosure, like I said, I'm a comic book nerd, but I like that suggestion, Brian. So finally, Andy, what would your superpower be?
Well, I do think it would be really cool is if Brian can teleport, if he could take additional people. Because if you're going to go like Jamaica or something, just remember us when that happens.
Exactly.
Will do.
Okay, so my long-winded answer here is there's a new show called Shadow and Bone on Netflix. It's like a fantasy type show. It's super cool. And some of these people the characters have different powers. And one of them, they're called healers. They have the ability to heal. And it's the coolest thing ever. And I was watching the show, and that's probably why I'm thinking of it now, and thought, how cool would that be? Like if you see somebody hurting, that you literally could just kind of put your hand over them and then just heal them completely. And so I would love that superpower. I would be heal woman. No, that wouldn't work. I will work on the name, but that's what
Symbol is a big shoe.
I make comfortable shoes. Yeah, I think that would be my superpower, but I'll work on the name and then I'll let everybody know next time.
Leave it to Andy to make us all feel selfish, huh? Like in places faster. And Andy's all, I want to heal the world. Oh, great. Thanks, Andy.
It works because I could go to Jamaica with Brian and Miguel could take me places and get me things fast. So not totally selfish.
Okay. Thanks for making us feel like that much better about ourselves.
Hey, at least it's that much.
I have to share. So mine is time travel. That is my thing. I would love to be able to go back in time, like the 50s or the 30s, even go into the future. I'd love to be able to just go to different, or even go to my own childhood. They say that you don't really appreciate those times until they're gone. When you've got all these family members or your best friend when you were a kid. I'd love to be able to go back and experience that. So that's my answer. And that, Miguel, is the question of the day.
Very cool, Jesus. Thank you for that. And now we've been taking the next segment. Any updates for it's actually Jesus. I know you were mentioning that you're working on the one team award project. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So as part of our fall convocation ceremonies, we are introducing a new award, and it's called the One Team Award. And this award is open to all teams comprised primarily or in majority of faculty and staff. And it is for teams that work across departments. So the idea of this is to really recognize teams that are reaching across the aisle, so to speak, and working with other departments to solve problems, improve situations for our CPP community. And there's going to be more information coming on that from various sources. So just be on the lookout for that. But what I would suggest is if you're aware of any teams that are collaborating with other departments that are doing really good work, be on the lookout for the nomination form so that you can submit that nomination. We would love to hear from you. So that is my update, Miguel. We're really excited about the One Team Award coming up.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably put the link up on the description later on when this podcast is released.
Awesome, because in the interest of full disclosure, Miguel, to pat you on the back, Miguel actually created the website for the One Team Award. So round of applause for Miguel. Great job.
Thank you. Oh, Andy, and speaking of awards, how's the EDGE program going?
You know what, Miguel? I'm so glad you asked because the EDGE program is going really, really well. And
nice.
So for those of us who may not be familiar with the EDGE program, it is a leadership development program designed for aspiring leaders. And so a few months ago, we did ask for nominations and received so many wonderful leaders and informal leaders for the program. And they went through an application process, and our review committee selected 20 members to be in the program. And we are halfway through, and we are having such a great time. And so I hope that the members are having just as much fun as I am. It's really cool because we get to have different facilitators hop on. Jesus will be helping facilitate our next session in change management. And so we're really looking forward to all of the different learning outcomes from the sessions. And we do have the opportunity for leaders to continue to nominate their staff. And so next year, because of the success of the program that we've seen so far, we are going to be offering it again. And of course, getting all of the feedback from our current members, we'll be able to make any necessary changes, and really excited to see who's going to be nominated for next year. So if you know somebody who is an aspiring leader or you want more information about the program, just be on the lookout. We'll make sure to get it to you. That will most likely be coming out in November to December. And so Jesus, if there's anything you'd like to add about the program, please do.
Yes, in the spirit of continuing to give credit where credit is due, Andy has put in a ton of work into this program, and it shows in the experience. So it is a great way to supercharge your development. And all of us are leaders. I believe that all of us are leaders because leadership is influence, in my opinion. But if you want to really take your leadership skills to the next level, I think this is a great way to do that. Andy's put a ton of work into it, as I said, and it really shows in the experience. So kudos to you, Andy, and a strong encouragement to anybody who's considering look into it and hopefully participate in the program because it's well worth it.
Awesome.
Good job, Andy.
Thanks.
Yay.
I think it's another update coming up for PageUp. How's that going on, Brian?
PageUp is going well. We actually have, last time we spoke, we finished our training with our division admins. And so that really gave us some insight into how to better serve the campus a little bit more. So we're working directly with student affairs right now to actually build out a process specifically for them. And so I really think that's going to be beneficial for them and just the overall flow for the campus. So right now as a team, we're talking about logistics, how we're going to do that, and just kind of finalizing some things before we do go live. We don't have a date yet, but I'm really excited to bring it to you whenever we do have it. So
Great.
keep an eye out for that. It'll be coming soon.
Yeah, and if it does come up, we'll make sure to update the website description on this YouTube video.
Yep, definitely. Thank you, Miguel.
And now we want to continue on to our interview. So our interview guest is John Nolte. He is our council member for District 1, which includes CEP, and Andy Handy will be conducting the interview. So take it away, Andy.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Miguel. Hello, John. John is our city council member for the city of Pomona. We thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much, John.
So first off, how are you doing today, John?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a good morning. Productive.
Perfect. That's great. And I'm really excited for you to be here today, not only so that we can learn more about you, but for our community members of Cal Poly, but even outside of the Cal Poly community, just Pomona, and being able to learn more about our city and about what you are doing to continue to support all of us in it. And so I was hoping that you can just share a little bit more about how or why you decided to become a city council member.
Yeah, sure. You know, I mean, it's a long story that goes back to when I was a kid, because you know, I grew up with 6 siblings, and I was the oldest, so I was always kind of type A personality. I had a mom who was very encouraging of anything I wanted to do, and a dad who inspired. He was just a really good guy, and I always looked up to him. And so when I got into like high school, I started running for class elections and stuff, and I started winning them. So I was like freshman, sophomore, junior class president, ASB president. And I told all my friends at that time that I was going to be the president of the United States. So back then I already had like this idea that, you know, elections were fun and leading people was fun. I also kind of had this like rebellious streak. Like I was not in the cool crowd in high school necessarily. I was sort of in a cool crowd, but like the outside rebel cool crowd, you know, and we like took over the ASB from the preppy kids kind of a thing. So like I liked the whole politics thing. So, you know, ended up going to law school and had a lot of different experiences in my life. You know, I grew up in a conservative community and as a Mormon, and I was a Republican just because my parents were. But when I got to law school, I was feeling differently. I did Teach for America. So I mean, I actually, you know, taught school in the South Bronx for a while, had my eyes kind of open to, you know, what poverty and looks like and how it can affect communities. When I came to law school, I was on a public interest law track, so that I stayed out of all of the, you know, go to a big firm and earn a bunch of money. And I had a kind of cadre of people around me who wanted to work in the public interest. You know, the Iraq War hit then, and basically I went through a real political transformation where I realized that, you know, government can lie to you, and, you know, that a lot of the things I believed were not true. And so, you know, became more of an activist at that point, trying to work for causes that I thought would help people who hadn't been helped. And anyway, coming out of law school, I got a fellowship to come to Pomona to sue slumlords. A fellowship is like an amount of money they pay you. Mine was 2 years, small amount. I also had to get a job, and so I ended up working for one of my former professors who represented kids with disabilities in special education matters. So came to Pomona, had this project to sue slumlords, and also was working to help people with disabilities. And I also ended up being on the board of the Day Labor Center, which helps day laborers get work and also, you know, work on their problems. And I decided at that point, and this was a really important decision in my life, like, I'm just going to stay here. Like, I'm going to come to Pomona and I'm going to stay in Pomona and I'm going to raise my family here and we'll just see what happens. Like, I had this idea that if you stick to it, a place, you know, over time you can understand it and maybe start to do some good. Like, I felt like if I moved around a lot or kept moving around, I would not be able to develop relationships. And that has turned out to be true. So, you know, the relationships I had on the board of the Day Labor Center, you know, just living in town and getting involved, I got involved in Pomona Habla, which was this organization trying to stop police from taking cars at checkpoints, like they were taking the cars of undocumented people. Same time, we were working on getting driver's license for undocumented people in the state. I learned Spanish at the Day Labor Center, and so I was starting to get out in the community and do some presentations as a lawyer on these subjects. And then basically 2012, an opportunity opened up to run for city council. Some people that I was, friends with were not happy with the current council person. They said, why don't you run? Particularly a woman named Cristina Carizosa, who was a longtime member of the council. And it was just kind of like things came together. My ambition from being a kid wanting to get into politics and then having built relationships of trust opened this opportunity. And so I took it, and it was just another way to continue the work that I feel like my life has been about, or at least I'm trying to make it about, which is to, have a meaningful life involved in using my talents to help people in any way that I can. So that's sort of the short story. That was 2012. I was off the council from 2016 to 20, and then another opportunity opened up and ran again.
We had seen that too. And who would have known that taking a fellowship to do some slumlords would have led to all of these other opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how everybody's life is, but I think, for me, keeping my life in a way that's flexible so that I have the ability to take opportunities when they come has been important. There's different paths in life. I mean, and everybody does what they do, but I didn't want to get on a track early on where I built up a lifestyle, maybe in terms of income or, a pathway that gets defined for you in a big firm, for example, where it would be hard to break out. It's hard to set that aside. So I started small and always kept my life sort of in a way that I could be flexible when opportunities came up. It's worked for me. So.
Well, that's a great learning experience for all of us, because at certain ages of our life, we may not always know what it is that we want. And sometimes we just think, okay, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to get a good job. And sometimes good job we think equals to income, because, we haven't necessarily learned those lessons yet. And so I think it's great for us to hear that success can come in many different forms.
Yeah, income. It's so overrated. I mean, okay, how can I say that? I've never really had it, but I look around, like the reality is, if you don't have a lot of income, there are still what is it that you want? You want beauty in your life or something, and you think you can buy it, but there's so many beautiful things in life that don't even take money, right? I go to parks sometimes, and I sit at a beautiful park, and I sit there to read, and I look around and I say this is free, right? Why would I want to have this huge life that binds me in and have a backyard that maybe looks like this, but what's the point? I can just go to a park and have the same thing. I mean, there's so many places in life to get the same things that you might get with a whole bunch of money, I think.
It's so true. And Jesus, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that really struck me what you said, John, because somebody once told me that ultimately the reason why sometimes people want money is because they think that money is going, and you've heard the old cliche, money can't buy happiness. And people think that money is going to make them happy. And somebody once told me, money only makes you more of what you already are. Of course, you want to have enough money so you don't have to worry about money per se, and people don't take, your furniture. But if you tend to be optimistic and you have a lot of money, then you can be more of that. But if you tend to be a little down, then you have a lot of money, then it just makes you more down. And so I've always really clicked with that idea of money makes you more of what you already are, but it doesn't make you anything beyond that. And so I think that's a great and very refreshing perspective, John. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah. And thank you, Jesus. I just in learning of how much you've impacted our city, even before becoming a city council member. I'm really interested to hear what project or activities you're currently working on that might impact or support the Cal Poly community.
Sure. I guess I would start with a couple physical things that are happening, because I think one issue with Cal Poly and Pomona is it feels a little bit distant sometimes. You've got Valley Boulevard that kind of separates Cal Poly from my district and the rest of Pomona. But we're redoing, you've probably seen Valley Boulevard. So it's been in horrible condition for a very long time. This is long overdue, but we're finally going to repave that street. It'll be very nice. And especially important is we have a class 4 bike lane that's coming in there that will connect the city to Cal Poly. And class 4 means it's actually separated by curbs or other barriers from traffic, and it's two-way. So it's very safe, very easy to use. I'm very excited about that. So that physical connection's coming. There's also a project that we're currently looking for money for, but I'm optimistic that we can achieve it in the next few years, which is another bike path, a trail along the San Jose Creek, which is, it's the cement creek that you see that comes along South Campus Drive. That goes all the way through my district and all the way to Ganesha Park if we were able to go under the freeway. And there actually is a tunnel under the freeway. So in the future, as soon as we can get the money, and we're looking for grants and things, there will be a trail that goes, from Ganesha Park all the way along the sort of north side of my district, all the way into Cal Poly. So 2 ways connecting Cal Poly physically. And I think that's going to do a lot to just weld us together physically. In terms of other things that I just wanted to mention, if you go on the city website, you can look at some of our specific plans that we have that have been developed over the last few years. There's a downtown specific plan, a corridor specific plan, and we're working on a park specific plan. These are planning documents that say, okay, 25 years from now, what do we want Pomona to look like? Without going into too much detail, if you're interested in where Pomona is headed, those are the documents you want to look at. And we're planning to build a lot of housing, frankly. There's going to be a lot of new people here. We're going to take our corridors, meaning Holt and Mission, and really beautify them, make them transportation friendly. So there's a lot of good sort of development that I believe will be coming to Pomona over the next decade. So students, if you want to stick around Pomona, please do. We'd love to have you here. We need your energy. And then this is the thing we talked about, you and I talked before, Andy. There's this thing I'm calling the Anchor Mission Project. Tell me if I'm talking too much, but.
No, you're good.
I'm on the board of what's called the Latino Roundtable. And with this, it's a nonprofit organization. We're working on an economic development project to start to build a new economy in Pomona. So, a lot of people, me included, feel like our current economy doesn't work for a lot of people. It just leaves a lot of people behind. And Pomona, I mean, if we're a low income working class community, and there's a lot of people here who get left behind by our current economy. What we want to do is look at anchor institutions, which are essentially eds and meds, universities, hospital, large nonprofits that depend on their local community for their own success, who also have a lot of money that they spend. And we want to collaborate with all the anchor institutions in the region to direct their purchasing power to create worker cooperatives for the lowest income that would be owned by the lowest income residents in Pomona. Now that's a lot to take in, but essentially it's this, like universities, including Cal Poly, have been great over time, sort of intellectually engaging with the community. This is an ask for Cal Poly and all the other universities and the hospital in the area to engage economically and directly in improving the lives of the lowest income people in Pomona. And the specific way we want to do that is by building worker cooperatives. So one quick example, this was done in Cleveland. You can look up the Cleveland model. Let's say that all these institutions do laundry, right? They've got various reasons that they have to do laundry. You guys have your hospitality, and they're contracting all over the place for these services. What if we took all that purchasing power and said, let's create a laundry in Pomona that's like a green laundry that would be owned by low-income workers in Pomona, and all of the anchor institutions would direct that purchasing power that was going everywhere directly to this one worker cooperative. Then we would have a guaranteed market, and we could, open up a business that would employ local people. That business could then seed fund other similar businesses that would be funded in that way. So that's a project I'm working on. I've got a small committee working on it, and we're starting to reach out to find stakeholders in the community interested in this too. So.
What a cool idea, John. With the Anchor project, where are you still kind of in the planning stages right now? I know you said you're seeking out different financial support, but where are you in that process?
Yeah, so there's it's a committee at the Latino Roundtable. So if you were interested in working on this, the first thing to do would be to become a member of the Latino Roundtable. I think it's pretty cheap for students. Just go online, Google Latino Roundtable Pomona, and it'll come up, and then you could sign up as a member, come to a membership meeting, and then join our committee. And so it's from this committee that we're organizing. We're going to bring in some outside consultants who worked in Cleveland on the project. Yeah, so right now it's really in the planning stages. the other thing you could do is, if you get involved with us, then you start to pressure your own administration to say, hey, this is going on in Pomona, you ought to be involved in this. Students have a really strong voice when they get together with their, in their own community.
They do. And I think all of the project activities that you spoke of are so timely and relevant right now. When even coming from the physical and building the bike paths, because after, during, and so what we're going through relates to COVID, we've seen so many more people get outside and be active in bike purchases, me being one of them. I try to ride my bike so much more often, but I've noticed in a lot of the cities, there are no bike paths. So I'm super excited about that. But you also mentioned the Latino Roundtable and how students can get involved, but can you just share a little bit about what that is?
The Latino Roundtable? Sure.
Mhm.
So it's interesting that this organization was founded over 10 years ago. The president of it is a guy named Jose Calderon. He's a emeritus professor from Pitzer who has always in his classes over all the years that he was involved really pushed his students to be involved in the community. And then it's also run by the vice president is Angela Zambrano, who's been a huge activist in the region. Anyway, the board is essentially a lot of really smart and connected people that are working to advance the quality of life of the Latino community in the region. So we essentially focus on three areas. One is education, one is immigration, and the third is the new economy. So, my project kind of falls under that new economy section, trying to improve and change the way that the economy works for Latinos and particularly low income families in Pomona. And then the immigration section works on particularly helping the plight of undocumented people, of which there are many in our community, to make sure that to work toward them not being second-class citizens, to have the right to work, to have access to benefits and things like that, and also on more comprehensive immigration reform. And then the education part really works at the state level. They're connected to state level organizations to pass bills that fund programs that ensure that our local kids can get to college, basically. And in fact, there was a bill that just was funded for $500 million, sponsored by Senator Leyva. Just today, we got notice that bill went through, and this money is to be used for that school to college pipeline that is being set up to make sure Latino students have that way to get to college.
Well, and that's like breaking news for us right now, John, because I haven't received that update yet, and I'm pretty familiar with Senator Leyva and her goals in terms of education. So that's a really great news.
It's SB 309.
SB 309.
Yeah, I just got an email today saying that it got allocated $500 million for that. So.
Oh wow. Well, I do have one more question for you, John, and then we can move on to the remaining portion of our segment. But I know one of your goals is building wealth in Pomona. We've touched on that a little bit, but would you mind sharing a little bit about what that might look like?
Yeah, I think I would say the two things that I think about are the development of worker cooperatives, like I was talking about. In other words, if we can, you build wealth by being an owner, essentially. So that instead of selling your labor to someone else and then getting a wage, that you can build wealth that way too. I mean, you can save and things like that. But if you're an owner and the profits of the business are coming to you, that builds wealth faster and in a more stable way. So if we can, work on moving toward creating businesses that are worker owned, and the Anchor Mission Project would do that. That's one thing I think. The other thing that I'm working on too is a project around housing stability. So that involves two things, one of which is not so much about wealth, and that's rent control, which I really think we need in Pomona to stabilize housing. Pomona is, I talk about all this development that's going to happen. If we're not careful, we'll face what many cities face, which is gentrification, which will displace a lot of families. I'm really committed to doing all I can to prevent that. And I think rent control is necessary. But not only that, we also want to, another group I'm involved with is called Pomona United for Stable Housing. We're pushing for a tenant opportunity to purchase act. So this is fairly uncommon in the United States, but the city of Washington, D.C. has it, where if your building goes up for sale, the tenants have the first opportunity to purchase the building. And I think if we had a law like that here in Pomona, and we worked on, getting financing from various agencies, et cetera, we would allow tenants to purchase their buildings essentially under, united tenant organizations, and then they would actually own a portion of the building, their own portion, the apartment. And so instead of paying rent to a landowner, they would be able to build equity, which eventually would allow them hopefully to save up enough to buy a house, et cetera. So that's another way I see turning tenants into owners through this opportunity to purchase. It's sort of an innovative, way to go, but I really think it could work here in Pomona. I think there's going to be opportunities for that to work. So I'm pushing for that too.
Yeah, John, wow, there's so many wonderful things that you shared with us today. And I want to give the team an opportunity if you have any comments or questions for John.
I think I just have one question, John. Myself personally, I would love to get more involved in the community, and I'm sure some of our guests would as well. Is there any opportunities that you have? It seems like you're on a lot of different roundtables and a lot of different committees. Is there anything that we can do to help support you? Like I said, for myself or the community as a whole?
Yeah. So, I mean, you could join the Latino Roundtable. There's so many organizations. Pomona is full of organizations doing stuff. So, you find, for example, there's, I think of United, I think it's United Voices of Pomona. They have a farm, for example, in Pomona, in the south of Pomona. So if you're interested in like community gardening and farming, there's that, which is something I really think is cool. I think what I would say is find the organization, and you have to do a little research. You can call me if you want. You go on the city website, you can set up a meeting with me and we can talk. But the key is really dedicate yourself to something, right? Like, it takes time to build trust. And that's another thing when I was thinking about my own life story, is that like to be effective, you have to have people who trust you and who know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And in sort of the nonprofit volunteer world, that's kind of hard to come by, because you have people that come in and they are around a little bit, but then they're not around, or maybe somebody, they say they're going to do something, but then it doesn't really happen because it's only a volunteer thing. And so, to get involved in the community on a sort of volunteer level, it really, you have to set your mind toward, this is a serious thing. Like, it's not like I'm not serious because I'm not getting paid for it. It's serious. And the way to do that is to say it matters to me in my life. Like, this is meaningful to me. And if I let something slip here, or I stop getting involved, like, I'm going to feel like a bad person, right? And so like you have to really say, I'm going to commit. And so find the thing that you want to commit to, and then keep coming, like, be there. So much about the work is showing up in these things, and showing up again, and showing up the third time, and then following through on what you said you were going to do. So I mean, it's sort of I think you probably wanted more specifics, but especially when I think about students, I've seen students who do incredible work, and then I've seen other students who sort of, flop through and then they're gone again, right? And it's those few who really commit. I mean, you'd be amazed at how much you can get involved if you stay focused and do what you say you're going to do. So I would just put it that way.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's an important aspect of volunteering, or just getting involved with something, is just making sure you're committed to it. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I definitely will set up a meeting with you so we can talk a little bit more. So thank you.
I've got a, if you go on the website and you go to the council page, there's a Calendly link, and it'll show you the times, and then it just creates a Zoom or a phone call, and we can just talk at that time. So.
Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and put that link in the description as well, just so that our guests have it too.
Sure, be happy to talk to anybody.
You have to say that I appreciate very much, John, how available you make yourself to the community. When we were searching on how to reach you, I thought we were going to run into quite a few obstacles, and we didn't. And it was such a great opportunity for the team to be able to meet with you prior to this podcast and just be able to learn more about you. And I can say, for any students or community members, if you do have an opportunity to learn more about it, I would encourage you to do it and speak with John about any questions or concerns that you might have. And Jesus, I know you had something you wanted to mention.
I just wanted to thank John. I think that love the idea of using some of the traditional methods of generating wealth and social improvement and making those accessible to communities that historically have been underserved and giving voice to those who don't have as much of a voice as they should. And so personally, it's inspiring. And I think that this is just such important work. And I'm glad that we've gotten a chance to have you share just some of the things that you're working on. And hopefully some of our listeners and viewers will reach out and get involved themselves. And as you mentioned, a lot of it's just showing up consistently and following through with what you say you're going to do. And somebody once told me, in order to be successful, you don't have to do extraordinary things. You just have to do ordinary things extraordinarily well. And sometimes just being there and doing what you say you're going to do is what it takes. So thank you, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. And so, John, we're not done yet. So I'm going to pass it over to Miguel so he can explain the next portion of the podcast.
All right. So again, thank you, John. I really appreciate all you've done. And also, like Brian, I'll be probably reaching out as well to learn more about like community opportunities. The next thing we're going to talk about is tips, trips, or hacks. So I think Brian will be introducing more on that segment.
Yeah, so I'll take it over. Thank you, Miguel. So the next segment is tip, trick, or hack. And essentially what this is you sharing any information that you feel is really important to the community. It could be something simple like putting tinfoil on the stems of bananas to make sure they don't go bad. Or if you have a new app, something that you're really interested in that really helps you throughout your daily life, anything you want to share, this is your time to kind of plug that.
Yeah, so that I was warned that I would have to do this. Apps are not my thing. I barely just got a smartphone, but the thing I think about, I love to read, and I read a lot of philosophy and things like that sometimes is hard for me, and I have to go back. And also I did this in law school. So like I was thinking about a way to underline things. So if you look at the books I read, I underline a ton, but the way that I underline is I underline grammatically. So like I make sure that the underlines, if I was to read them, they would read grammatically. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. So that like I underline the important stuff, but I also underline connecting verbs so that I'm like making a shorter summary of what it says. But when I go back and read it, it's like I can read it grammatically so that I can read it fast. So I don't know, that's always worked for me. Like when I'm reading cases or something, I'll take a paragraph and instead of like writing notes down, I'll just underline enough to make it read smoothly and grammatically when I go back and read it. So it like basically allows me to go back and read quickly stuff that I've already read. So that's my tip.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, that is kind of mind blowing. I see you guys in the back. I think it's really important for anybody who's a student or just anybody who loves to read. I think I also read a lot and underline, but I highlight. And I noticed that in dimmer light, I can't really see the highlights. So I might have to try this new underlining technique that you shared.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. That's what I thought. Something weird about me. So that.
Yeah, I love it. It kind of shows your law background and just, how the things you like too. So that's a good transition into this next segment.
I'll show you real quick. This is the book I'm reading right now. You can't read it. It's Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit. And, like, you probably can't see, but, you probably can't see the underlines. But anyway, like I've been reading this book for like a year because it's so difficult. But like every time I go back, I'll read like 5 pages, but I'll read them really quick because of my underline.
John, if I can't even pronounce the title of the book, that probably tells me I can't even pronounce it. So you're underlining, and so when you read your underline, it makes a logical sentence. Is that right? And it's kind of
exactly right. That's the key, because like otherwise, if you just underline something and it doesn't make logical sense, then you have to like process all this stuff. But if it reads like a sentence, your mind will pick it up easily. It's just like you're reading something shorter. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So it's a great transition into our next segment, which is actually the last segment for today. So it's going to be our lightning round. And so in this segment, what I'm going to do is ask you a series of 15 questions. They're pretty random, but what it does is it gives our audience a good chance to get to know you a little bit better. So what we want is responses in less than 5 seconds, just whatever's on the top of your head, and I'll get started. So
Okay.
dressed up or casual?
Casual.
Have you ever traveled outside of the country, and if so, where?
I've been to Brazil and Mexico.
Ooh, okay. I definitely want to get to Brazil. That sounds like a beautiful experience. All right, dogs or cats?
Cats for sure.
Favorite childhood memory?
Ooh, my memory is so bad. I mean, what comes immediately to mind? Going to the beach to camp with my family when I was a kid.
Oh, I love that. Okay. What did you dress up as for Halloween last year?
Oh, last year, I probably didn't dress up last year, but one thing I do is on Easter, I do what's called an Easter get up. So when my kids are a little older now, but when they would go out to hunt for eggs, I put on like the craziest outfit that I possibly can, like maybe like pants on my head and, you know, tie around my waist, just like dress up crazy. They call it my Easter get
I
up.
love that. I love that. Okay, what is your favorite go-to meal to cook?
Macaroni and cheese. My kids love it, and I make it pretty good.
Okay, and then would you rather read a book or watch the movie? I think I know this
Oh
one.
yeah, read the book for
There
sure.
we go. I
Although
love that.
I do love movies too, so I love them both, but I'm a reader.
Okay. What is your favorite season? Spring, summer, autumn, or winter?
Spring. Yeah, I love the spring.
All right. What is your favorite band or artist?
Oingo Boingo. I went to probably 9 Oingo Boingo concerts growing up. I grew up in San Diego and always went to SDSU and the Irvine Amphitheater every Halloween. I'm a, yeah, Oingo Boingo fan.
Yeah, I've never heard of them, so I'm gonna have to check them out.
Oh my gosh, I can't help myself.
Danny Elfman is the composer, of like film music. He was the lead singer of Oingo Boingo in the 80s and early 90s.
I went to San Diego State and I saw Oingo Boingo at San Diego State. I am a huge fan. So sorry, I'm muting myself again.
We were probably there together. Yeah, I mean, I was at all those shows.
All right, so we have a few more. Would you rather go first or last?
Last.
Okay. What is the last show you binge watched?
Line of Duty. It's a British cop show about cops that are investigating other cops. Great show.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm really into like cop shows and like murder mystery.
Yeah, me too. We're always watching something that was recommended to us. Yeah.
All right, so one last question. What is your definition of success?
Acting in accordance with your duty, I guess. I would say that. Like if you can define your duty and then do what you need to do it, that would be success for me.
I love that so much because it's not kind of piggybacking off what we talked about earlier. It's not related to money directly. I know that a lot of people correlate those two. So just, like you said, finding what you love to do, staying dedicated to it, and just showing up every day. So I really love that. So that was the last question I had for you, John. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. So I'll pass it back off to Miguel.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Thank you guys. And to our viewers, we'll be placing all the links on the bottom. Make sure you check those out. And again, thank you, John, for being here with us today.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Quote that I want to finish off, a quote from David Allen. He's the author for Getting Things Done. And one of the quotes that I thought of was, the better you get, the better you better get. And kind of wanted to end that quote with everyone. So again, thank you all for being here today, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everybody. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll just stop for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and
Cut.
cut.
And-
All right. I was waiting for Miguel. Can you all roll your R's?
All right. John Nolte, when he gets online, he's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
like,
Something's
wrong meeting.
wrong with these people.
We're just
Yeah.
a fun bunch.
Yeah, actually, I should have made that the question of the day. Like, what is your weird ability? Like for me, it's that eye thing, like that thing. So, because some people can wiggle their ears, which I can't do.
People could
I
do
think
that.
I can.
Can you?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you can.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is crazy.
You know, I don't even know how I learned that. Like, I don't know when I
Wait.
practiced or how I determined that I can do that, but I know I can do it.
Do you have any super secret powers? Like, can you wiggle your ears or anything like that, John?
Actually, I can balance pretty much anything on my face, like brooms or bikes or skateboards
What?
or ironing boards. Yeah, occasionally I'll do a show of some sort. That's my one talent. So
Oh,
That
wow.
is
any talent
so
show, I bring up a
cool.
bunch of stuff and balance it on my nose. Yeah.
Wow.
Now-
You just introduced a new question to all of our interviewers.
Yes. What is your superpower? Yes. Because
Yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty, I can't balance on anything. I can just balance things. So like I'm horrible at skateboarding or surfing, but I can balance skateboards and surfboards.
Okay, that's funny that you mentioned that because we just talked about how cool unicycles are. And when you mentioned that, my next question was, can you ride a unicycle? Because
I cannot, but my daughter can ride a unicycle. She's
what?
Yeah.
You all are like the Incredibles. Every one of your family.
Right. Yeah, we're preparing for battle.
Right? Exactly.